Welcome back to Tina Romance Library, where powerful alphas fall hard, and the women they underestimate change everything. Every story here is complete, immersive, and emotion-driven. No cliffhangers, no rushed endings, just full romances you can sink into. So if you love possessive alphas, strong heroines who don't beg, slow burn tension, emotional payoffs, and stories that actually finish, you're in the right place. I need you to join the pack right now by subscribing. Leave a like if you enjoy immersive romance, and settle in because once the story begins, we don't stop until the ending. Now, let's get into it. I've learned to measure time by the ache in my belly. Not the sharp kind that makes you double over, no, that would be a mercy. This is the slow, grinding sort. The kind that starts before dawn and follows you through every breath, every step, every moment you pretend you're fine. It's there when I wake on the thin mat in the corner of the storage room. It's there when I haul water from the well. And it's definitely there now, as I kneel at the edge of the great hall, watching plates piled high with food I'll never taste. The stone floor is cold against my knees. I've knelt here so many times there are probably grooves worn into the rock that match my bones. But I don't shift, don't fidget. Don't give them the satisfaction of knowing it hurts. Above me, the pack feasts. The smell hits me first, always does. Roasted venison, rich and smoky, fat dripping and hissing over the fire, fresh bread, still warm, the kind that tears apart in soft, pillowy chunks. Honey-glazed root vegetables, berry wine so dark it looks like blood in their cups. My mouth waters traitorously, and I swallow it down, force my face into nothing. Into stone. Laughter crashes over me like a wave. Someone's telling a story. Garrett, I think, one of the younger alphas, all swagger and white teeth. He's describing a hunt, making himself the hero, naturally. The others roar their approval, fists pounding the table until the cups jump and slosh. A beta woman shrieks with delight at something I don't catch. The sound is bright and carefree, the sound of people who've never once wondered where their next meal would come from. I keep my eyes down, always down. Because if I look up, if I let them see what's in my eyes, it's over. They'll know. They'll know that beneath this carefully constructed calm, there's a girl who's tired. So tired. Tired of being invisible except when they want to remind themselves I exist so they can feel better about their own place in the pack order. Tired of the cold, the hunger, the weight of every single day that looks exactly like the one before it. But I don't break. I won't. Hunger hurts less than hope, that's what I tell myself. Hope is the dangerous thing. Hope makes you think tomorrow might be different. Hope gets you destroyed. A plate scrapes across the table above me. Footsteps. I don't look up, but I know what's coming. I've played this scene 100 times. Something hits the floor beside me with a wet thud. A bone, stripped nearly clean. A few gristle strings still clinging to it. Gravy congealing on the stone. More laughter, sharper this time, meant for me. Don't let it go to waste, Omega, someone calls out. Marcus, probably. He's got that particular edge to his voice, like cruelty comes easy to him. Like it's entertainment. I don't react. That's the trick. You don't give them anything. No tears, no anger, no shame. You just exist. Quieter than quiet, smaller than small. I reach out, slow and deliberate, and pick up the bone. My fingers are steady. I make sure of that. I don't snatch at it like an animal. I don't cradle it like it's precious. I just take it, calm as anything, and set it in the small bowl they've left for me, the chipped ceramic one with the crack down the side that no one else will use. Strength through restraint. That's all I have. The only power available to someone like me. I can't fight them, can't challenge them, can't leave. But I can refuse to let them make me less than I am. Even here, even now, kneeling on cold stone with a gnawed bone in a broken bowl, I am still whole. I am still me. The conversation above moves on. I'm already forgotten. Back to the story, back to the wine, back to their warm, full lives, and I feel it. A pull. Right in the center of my chest, like a hook catching under my ribs and tugging, sharp enough to make me catch my breath. What was that? I go very still, every sense suddenly alert. It's not pain, exactly. It's not fear. It's something else, something I don't have a name for. Something that makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, and my wolf stir restlessly under my skin, and she never stirs, not anymore, not after years of keeping her buried so deep I sometimes forget she's there. The sensation pulses once, twice, like a heartbeat that isn't mine. And then I feel it. I'm being watched. Not the casual, dismissive glances I'm used to. Not the quick once-overs that remind everyone I'm here so they can enjoy ignoring me. This is different. This is weight. Attention. Focus so intense it feels like fingertips trailing down my spine. Every instinct screams at me to look up, to find the source. But I don't. I keep my eyes down, locked on the bone in my bowl, on the grain of the stone floor. Looking up is dangerous. Looking up invites things I can't afford. But oh, I want to. The pull in my chest tightens, insistent now. My wolf paces, agitated, curious, something I haven't felt from her in years. What is this? What's happening? And then the hall goes silent. Not the natural lull of conversation shifting, this is different. This is air sucking out of a room. This is every voice cutting off mid-word, every laugh dying in someone's throat. This is the kind of silence that makes your stomach drop because you know, you just know, something's changed. I hear the doors open. Heavy. Old wood groaning on iron hinges. Footsteps, no, not footsteps. Too deliberate, too measured. Each one lands like a judgment. The temperature in the room shifts. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe it's the way my skin suddenly feels too tight, my pulse too loud in my ears. That pull in my chest yanks hard enough to hurt now, and I have to curl my fingers into fists to keep from pressing my hand to my sternum. Someone's here. Someone important. The Lycan King. Someone breathes. I don't know who. The words float through the silence like smoke. My heart stops, then slams back into rhythm, twice as fast. The Lycan King. Here, in our pack's hall. That's impossible he doesn't visit places like this, packs like ours. We're small, unremarkable. We have nothing he could possibly want. But he's here. I can feel him now, even without looking. It's like standing too close to a fire, that sense of heat and power and danger all rolled into one. The air itself seems to bend around him. Every wolf in this room has gone still, gone submissive, even the alphas, especially the alphas. The footsteps move deeper into the hall. Closer. Don't look up, I tell myself. Whatever you do, don't look up. But that pull, God, that pull is screaming at me now. My wolf is throwing herself against the cage of my control, desperate and frantic, and howling for something I don't understand. It takes everything I have to stay kneeling, to keep my head bowed, to maintain the invisible armor I've built around myself. The footsteps stop, right in front of me. No, that's not right. He can't be. Why would he? Who is this? The voice rolls through the hall like thunder, deep, commanding. The kind of voice that doesn't ask questions, it demands answers, and the universe rearranges itself to provide them. I stop breathing. No one, Your Majesty. That's Alpha Cain, our pack leader. I can hear the strain in his voice, the effort it takes to sound casual. Just an Omega. I asked who she is. The correction is quiet, gentle almost, but there's steel underneath it. A warning. My hands are shaking now. I press them flat against my thighs, willing them to stop. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. Kings don't notice Omegas. They don't ask about us. They don't. Look at me. It's not a request. And here's the thing about commands from an alpha that powerful your body wants to obey before your brain even processes the words. My wolf surges up with a force that nearly buckles me, demanding, pleading, desperate to do exactly what he's asked. But I'm terrified, because I know, somehow I know, that the moment I look up, everything changes. This fragile existence I've built, this careful balance of invisible survival, it's about to shatter. The pull in my chest is a living thing now, urgent and wild, and I can't fight it anymore. Slowly, So slowly, I lift my head, and I meet the eyes of the Lycan king. The world tilts. He's not what I expected, except he's exactly what I expected. Powerful, yes. You can see it in every line of him, in the way he holds himself like gravity is optional. Dark hair, sharp features, the kind of face that artists would try and fail to capture. But it's his eyes that undo me. Silver, like moonlight on water, like starlight, like nothing I've ever seen. And they're looking at me like I'm the only person in this room, in this world. The pull snaps into place with an almost audible click, and suddenly I understand. Suddenly everything makes terrible, wonderful, impossible sense. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. What's your name? He asks, and his voice has gentled. There's something in it I can't name, something that sounds almost like wonder. I should answer, I should speak, but my throat has closed up, and all I can do is stare at him, this king, this stranger, this man who's looking at me like he already knows my name, like he's been searching for it his whole life, like he recognizes me. And the worst part, the absolutely terrifying part, is that I recognize him too. I can't move, can't breathe, can't think. The entire hall has disappeared, the people, the tables, the stone walls, all of it gone. There's only him. Only those silver eyes locked on mine like he's seeing straight through to the parts of me I've kept hidden for so long I'd almost forgotten they existed. Say something, anything. But my voice is trapped somewhere between my chest and my throat, and all I can manage is to keep staring at him like he's some kind of vision that might vanish if I blink. His expression shifts, softens, somehow, though there's still that edge of raw power humming just beneath the surface. He takes a step closer, and my wolf goes absolutely silent. Not in fear, in recognition. In reverence. In something that feels dangerously close to coming home. Stand up. The command is quiet but absolute, not harsh, not demanding in the way Alpha Cain demands things, like he's trying to prove something. This is different. This is the kind of authority that doesn't need to raise its voice, because the entire world will bend to accommodate it anyway. My legs are shaking as I rise. I haven't stood in the great hall during a feast in, I can't even remember. Years, maybe. Omegas don't stand. We kneel. We wait. We exist in the spaces between the important people. But he asked me to stand, so I stand. I'm taller than I expected to be once I'm upright. Or maybe it's just that I haven't felt this tall in forever. My spine straightens almost against my will, muscle memory from a time before I learned to make myself small. He's watching my hands. I glance down and realize they're trembling. Not a little, a lot. Enough that I can't hide it, can't control it. Adrenaline and shock and hunger, and that impossible pull, all mixing together into something that's making my entire body shake. I curl my fingers into fists, trying to stop it, but it's useless. When did you last eat? His voice cuts through the silence like a blade. A real meal, not scraps. The question catches me off guard. No one asks me things like that. No one cares enough to ask. I should lie. Should say something that won't make this worse. But those silver eyes are on me, and somehow I know he'll see right through any lie I try to tell. 3 days ago, I hear myself say. My voice comes out rough, barely above a whisper. There was bread. After the hunting party returned, they left half a loaf. I don't mention that it was stale, that I had to pick off the mold, that I made it last 2 days because I didn't know when the next piece would come. His jaw clenches, just once, just enough that I see the muscle jump beneath his skin. And then he turns. The movement is fluid, predatory, and when he looks at Alpha Cain, the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. I watch Cain's face go pale. Watch him take an involuntary step back, even though he's supposed to be the authority here, the leader, the one in control. But we all know the truth now. There's only one person in control in this hall, and it isn't Cain. You're Omega, the king says, and each word is precise, controlled, hasn't eaten in 3 days. It's not a question, it's an accusation, a judgment, and the weight of it makes Cain stammer. We feed the pack, Your Majesty. She gets what's left. That's the order. That's how it's always. That ends now. 2 words. That's all it takes. The king's voice doesn't rise. doesn't sharpen. It just exists, absolute and final. And I watch realization wash over Cain's face. This isn't a suggestion. This isn't a request he can negotiate his way around. This is law. The king turns back to me, and the coldness vanishes like it was never there. His expression when he looks at me is something else entirely. Something I don't have a name for because I've never seen it directed at me before. He moves past me, toward the head table where the pack leadership sits, where Alpha Cain's plate rests, still piled high with the finest cuts of meat, the freshest bread, glazed vegetables that gleam in the firelight. The king picks up the plate. Not roughly, not like he's making a point through violence, just picks it up, like it's the most natural thing in the world for a Lycan king to clear a table. Every person in the hall is frozen. I can hear someone's breath catch. I can feel the collective shock rippling through the room. He walks back toward me, carrying the plate, and I realize with a jolt of something close to panic that he's not taking it away. He's bringing it to me. No, that can't be right. But he is. He gestures to one of the benches near the fire. Sit. I sit. I don't even think about it. My legs just fold, and suddenly I'm seated on a bench I've never been allowed to touch, and the king, the Lycan king, is setting a plate of food in front of me. And then he sits beside me. Not across from me, not at a respectful distance, beside me, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body, close enough that when he shifts his weight, his knee almost brushes mine. My heart is going to break through my ribs. I'm sure of it. The entire hall is watching. I can feel their eyes like physical pressure against my skin. This is wrong. My brain screams. This is all wrong. Kings don't sit with omegas. They don't serve them. They don't. He picks up a piece of bread, tears it in half, and holds it out to me. I stare at it, at his hand, at the offering that makes no sense. Eat, he says softly. Not a command this time, an invitation, almost a plea. My hand shakes as I reach for the bread. My fingers brush his, and the contact sends a shock of something electric racing up my arm. His skin is warm, solid, real. I bring the bread to my mouth, and the first bite nearly makes me sob. It's warm, soft, rich with butter and salt and everything good I've been denying myself. The taste of it floods my senses, and I have to close my eyes because it's too much, too good, too overwhelming after 3 days of nothing. When I open them again, he's watching me with an intensity that should frighten me, should make me want to run. It doesn't. More, he says, and there's something in his voice, satisfaction, maybe, pleasure at seeing me eat, at knowing I'm being fed. He picks up a piece of meat, tender and perfectly cooked, and holds it out. This time I hesitate. This is too much, too intimate. People are staring. The pack will have questions. There will be consequences. Let them watch, he says, reading my hesitation like it's written on my face. Let them see. And I understand then. This isn't just about feeding me. This is a statement, a claim, a line drawn in the sand that says I am under his protection now, and anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with him. I take the meat from his fingers. He feeds me slowly, carefully, each piece chosen deliberately, each offering given with a gentleness that undoes me piece by piece. Bread and meat and vegetables, each bite better than the last. He doesn't rush, doesn't push, just watches me eat with those silver eyes that see everything. And then I realize I'm crying. Not sobbing, just tears, silent and steady, tracking down my cheeks. I'm not even sure when they started. I just know they won't stop. No one has ever touched me like this. No one has ever given me something without demanding payment, without taking more than they gave. Every kindness I've ever received has come with strings attached, with expectations, with the understanding that I owe something in return. But this feels different. His hand comes up, and I freeze, but he's not pulling away. He's reaching for my face, and then his thumb is brushing across my cheek, wiping away the tears with a tenderness that breaks something inside me. You're safe, he murmurs, and his voice is pitched low, meant only for me despite the audience. I promise you, you're safe now. I don't know how to respond to that. don't know how to explain that safety is a concept I've forgotten how to believe in. So I just nod, and he seems to understand. He picks up another piece of bread, but this time his other hand comes to rest on the bench between us, not touching me, not demanding anything, just there. Close enough that if I wanted to, if I was brave enough, I could reach for it. "What's your name?" he asks again. This time I can answer. "Sarah," I whisper. "Sarah." He says it like he's tasting it, like it's something precious. "I'm Kale." I know who he is. Everyone knows who he is. But hearing him introduce himself, like we're equals, like my name deserves to be spoken in the same breath as his, it's almost too much. He offers me another bite, and I take it. The plate is nearly empty now. I've eaten more in the last 10 minutes than I usually eat in a week, and my stomach is warm and full and I feel almost drunk on it. Kale sets the plate aside and turns to face me more fully. His knee does brush mine now, and neither of us moves away. "You will never go hungry again," he says, "and it's not a promise, it's a vow. Not while I breathe. Do you understand?" I nod because words have abandoned me again. His hand shifts on the bench, and then his fingers are touching mine, gentle, questioning, giving me every opportunity to pull away. I don't. His hand closes over mine, warm and sure, and that pull in my chest, the one that's been screaming since the moment he walked into the hall, finally settles, finally quiets. Like something that's been broken has snapped back into place. "You're mine, Sarah." The words should terrify me, should sound like ownership, like chains, like another cage with different bars. But the way he says them, the way he's looking at me, it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like choice, like protection, like he's offering me something instead of taking it. And for the first time in longer than I can remember, I feel something dangerous bloom in my chest. Hope. His hand is still covering mine when he stands. The movement is smooth, unhurried, but there's purpose in it. He rises like he's already decided something, and when he looks down at me, there's a question in those silver eyes that he hasn't asked out loud yet. But I hear it anyway. "Will you come with me?" My heart hammers against my ribs. This is insane. I don't know him. I don't know anything beyond his name and his title, and the fact that his touch makes my wolf sing in a way I didn't know was possible. I should be cautious. Should think this through. Should at least ask where we're going. But when he extends his hand to me, palm up, fingers slightly curled, an invitation, not a demand, I don't hesitate. I place my hand in his. His fingers close around mine, warm and sure, and he draws me to my feet. I'm standing close enough now that I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes, close enough that I can smell him pine and winter air, and something wild that makes my wolf press against my skin like she's trying to get closer. "Come with me," he says, and it's not quite an order, more like a request he already knows I'll say yes to. I should look back, should check the pack's reaction, see what Alpha Cain thinks about the Lycan King walking out of his hall with their Omega, should maybe feel some loyalty to the only home I've ever known, even if that home has been cold and cruel and hungry. I don't look back. Not even once. Kale's hand tightens around mine just slightly, just enough to let me know he noticed my choice, and then he's moving toward the doors, and I'm moving with him. The hall is still silent, that awful, breathless silence that comes when everyone wants to speak but no one dares. I can feel their stares like brands on my skin. Shock, confusion, disbelief that the broken Omega is walking out on the arm of a king. Let them stare. The thought surprises me with its vehemence. I've spent years making myself small, invisible, unthreatening. But right now, with Kale's hand wrapped around mine, I feel something else entirely. I feel seen. The doors swing open ahead of us, guards moving to accommodate, bowing low as Kale passes. The night air hits my face, cold and sharp and clean, and I breathe it in like it's the first real breath I've taken in years. Outside, there's a carriage waiting. Not ornate, not dripping with royal insignia, but solid and well-made, with horses that look like they could run for days without tiring. The door is already open, warm light spilling from inside. Kale pauses at the threshold, and I realize he's positioned himself between me and the hall, between me and the pack. His body angled just slightly, just enough that if anyone wanted to reach me, they'd have to go through him first. He's shielding me. The realization hits me with unexpected force. No one has ever stood between me and danger. I've always been the shield, the one who took the hits, so someone else wouldn't have to. But here he is, this king, this stranger, putting himself in front of me like I'm something worth protecting. My throat tightens. Sarah. His voice is low, meant only for me. You can change your mind, if you want to stay. I don't. The words come out stronger than I expected. Certain. I don't want to stay. Something flashes in his eyes. Satisfaction, maybe. Relief. He nods once, then gestures to the carriage. Then let's go home. Home. The word shouldn't hit me as hard as it does, shouldn't make my eyes burn with fresh tears. But it does, because I haven't had a home in so long. I'd almost convinced myself I didn't need one. He helps me into the carriage, his hand steady at my elbow, and then he's climbing in after me and the door is closing and we're moving. Just like that. Just like that, I've left. The interior of the carriage is nothing like I expected. Warm furs line the seats, thick and soft, and probably worth more than everything I've ever owned combined. There are cushions, deep and plush, and a small lantern hanging from the ceiling that fills the space with gentle golden light. And there's a basket. Cale notices me staring at it and something that might be amusement flickers across his face. He reaches for the basket, sets it on the seat between us, and lifts the cloth covering it. Food. More food. Bread and cheese and dried fruit and what looks like honey cakes and... You just ate, he says, but there's no judgment in it, just observation. I know. I can't stop looking at the basket. Can't process that this much food is just sitting here, available, like it's normal. I've never seen... I don't know how to finish that sentence. He's quiet for a moment, and when I finally drag my eyes away from the basket to look at him, he's watching me with an expression that makes my chest ache. Take whatever you want, he says softly. It's yours, all of it. I reach for a honey cake with trembling fingers, and the first bite is heaven, sweet and rich and perfect. I close my eyes, savoring it, and when I open them again, he's still watching me. Not like I'm a curiosity, not like I'm pathetic, like I'm precious. You're going to make yourself sick if you eat too fast, he says, and there's gentle scolding in his tone, almost teasing. Slow down. I should probably be embarrassed, should feel self-conscious about the way I'm inhaling this food, but instead, I find myself almost smiling. Sorry, I murmur, taking a smaller bite. Don't apologize. He shifts, getting more comfortable against the cushions, but his eyes never leave me. Just pace yourself. We have time. You have time. Time. Such a strange concept. I'm used to stolen moments, to grabbing what I can when I can because there might not be a next time. The idea that I can eat slowly, can savor things, can trust that there will be more, it's foreign. But I try. I take smaller bites. Let myself taste each one. Let the sweetness of the honey cake linger on my tongue. Cale reaches for the basket, pulls out what looks like a water skin, and hands it to me. Drink. It's not water. It's something warmer, spiced, like cider but richer. It slides down my throat and settles warm in my belly. And I didn't realize how cold I was until this moment. Better? He asks. I nod, because words are still difficult. The carriage rocks gently beneath us, the rhythm soothing. Outside, I can hear the horses' hooves, the creak of wheels, the distant sound of night birds. Inside, it's warm and safe, and so far removed from everything I've known that it feels like a dream. Cale is still watching me. I can feel his gaze even when I'm not looking at him. I can feel the weight of his attention like a physical thing. Finally, I gather enough courage to meet his eyes. Why? The question comes out barely above a whisper. Why are you doing this? He tilts his head slightly, considering. Because you're my mate. The words are simple, stated like fact, like it's obvious. I should probably swoon, should probably feel overwhelmed with romantic certainty, should probably believe him without question. I don't. That's not possible, I hear myself say. Omegas don't, we're not, you're a king. And you're my mate, he repeats, unruffled by my doubt. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. I shake my head. This doesn't make sense. Fate doesn't work this way. The mate bond doesn't choose someone like me for someone like him. There's been a mistake. Has to be. I felt it the moment I walked into that hall, he continues, his voice low and certain. That pull, that recognition, didn't you? I want to deny it. Want to tell him he's wrong. That what I felt was just shock or fear or hunger-induced delirium. But I can't lie to him. I felt it, I admit quietly. But that doesn't mean... It means everything, he interrupts gently. But you don't have to believe it yet. I blink at him. What? You don't have to believe it yet, he says again, and his expression is patient, understanding. I know this is overwhelming. I know you have no reason to trust me, or fate, or any of this. So I'm not asking you to believe. Not right now. Then what are you asking? For time. His hand moves, rests on the seat between us, close to mine but not touching, giving me space, giving me choice. Time to show you. Time to prove that this is real, that you're safe, that you're... He pauses, searching for words, that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. My wolf is purring, actually purring, like she's already completely sold on this, on him, on the impossibility of everything that's happened tonight. But I'm not my wolf. I'm me. And I've learned the hard way that things that seem too good to be true usually are. What if you're wrong? I ask, hating how small my voice sounds. What if this isn't? What if I'm not? You are, he says with absolute certainty. But I understand doubt. I understand fear. So take your time, Sarah. Figure this out at your own pace. I'm not going anywhere. The carriage hits a bump, and I sway slightly. His hand moves instinctively, steadying me, and the contact sends that now familiar shock of electricity racing through my veins. He feels it too. I see it in the way his eyes flare, the way his jaw tightens just slightly. But he doesn't push, doesn't demand, just steadies me, and then pulls back, giving me space again. Where are we going? I ask, needing to focus on something concrete, something I can understand. My territory, the northern mountains. He settles back against the cushions. It's about a day's journey. We'll stop at an inn tonight. An inn, a bed, probably. A real bed. The thought makes me dizzy. You should rest, he says, reading my exhaustion like it's written on my face. It's been a long night. He's not wrong. My body is heavy with exhaustion, with the weight of too many emotions in too short a time. But I'm afraid if I close my eyes, I'll wake up back in that cold storage room, and all of this will have been a dream. I'm here, Kale says softly, like he can read that fear too. When you wake up, I'll still be here, I promise. And somehow, despite everything, despite all the reasons I have not to trust anyone ever again, I believe him. The palace is too beautiful to be real. That's my first thought when the carriage finally stops and Kale helps me down into pre-dawn light. The northern mountains rise behind the structure like sentinels, all jagged peaks and ancient stone, and the palace itself seems to grow out of the rock built into it, part of it, like it's been here since the beginning of time. I've never seen anything like it. Stone towers catch the first rays of sunlight, turning them golden. There are gardens, even in winter, with paths that wind between evergreen hedges and frozen fountains. Windows glow warm from within, promising heat and light and all the things I've gone without. It's too much, too grand, too perfect. I don't belong here. The thought hits me like a fist to the chest, and I freeze on the steps, panic rising sharp and sudden in my throat. This is a mistake. He'll realize it soon, realize I'm nothing special, just a broken Omega who doesn't know how to be anything else. And then, breathe, Sarah. Kale's hand is at my elbow, steady and warm, and his voice cuts through the spiral of panic with surgical precision. I breathe. I start, but I don't know how to finish. I don't know how to explain that I'm terrified of all this beauty, all this safety, because I don't know what it costs yet. Come inside, he says gently, just one step at a time. One step. I can do one step. So I do. And then another, and another. until we're through massive doors that close behind us with a sound like finality, and I'm standing in an entrance hall that's bigger than the entire pack house I just left. Staff materialize from doorways, not rushing, not overwhelming, just present. A woman with kind eyes and silver threading through her dark hair approaches, bowing slightly to Kale before turning her attention to me. "This is Helena," Kale says. "She'll show you to your rooms." "My rooms," plural. Helena smiles at me, and it reaches her eyes. "Welcome, my lady. If you'll follow me?" I glance at Kale, uncertain. He nods encouragingly but doesn't follow, giving me space, giving me the chance to settle without his overwhelming presence making everything more confusing. I follow Helena, through corridors lit by sconces that cast dancing shadows on stone walls, past tapestries that probably have histories I'll never know, up a staircase that curves like a spine, each step worn smooth by centuries of feet. She opens a door, and I step into rooms that can't possibly be mine. There's a sitting room with a fireplace already burning, chairs upholstered in deep blues and grays, a table by the window that looks out over the mountains. Through another doorway, I glimpse a bedroom, a bed so large I could sleep sideways and not touch either edge, piled with furs and quilts that look impossibly soft. And through yet another door. "The bathing room," Helena says, following my gaze. "I've already had water heated. I thought you might like to wash after your journey. A bath. A real bath, not a cold bucket in a drafty shed." My throat tightens. "I'll leave you to it," Helena continues, moving toward the door. "There are clothes in the wardrobe. I took the liberty of having some things prepared. They should fit well enough until we can have proper measurements taken." She pauses, hand on the doorframe. "His Majesty has asked that you join him for breakfast if you're feeling up to it, but there's no pressure. If you'd prefer to rest, food will be brought to you." "I thank you," I manage. She smiles again, warm and genuine, and then she's gone and I'm alone in these impossible rooms that smell like lavender and cedar and safety. I stand frozen for a long moment, waiting for the other shoe to drop, for someone to come in and tell me this was all a test, or a joke, or a mistake. No one comes. Slowly, carefully, I move into the bathing room. The tub is enormous, carved from smooth stone, already filled with steaming water. There are soaps and oils lined up on a shelf, soft towels folded nearby, and the whole room is warm from heated floors beneath my feet. I strip off the thin, worn dress I've been wearing, the only dress I own, and step into the water. The heat hits me like a shock. Not painful, just overwhelming. It's been so long since I was truly warm that I've forgotten what it feels like. I sink down slowly, letting the water rise to my shoulders, and something inside me breaks. I cry, not dramatically, not with sobs or sounds, just tears that won't stop, sliding down my cheeks and dripping into the bathwater while I sit there and try to remember how to accept kindness without waiting for the price. Because there's always a price, isn't there? Heaven. I join KL for breakfast. The dress Helena provided fits almost perfectly soft wool in a deep green that makes my eyes look brighter than they've ever looked. My hair is clean for the first time in recent memory, falling in waves down my back instead of hanging in matted tangles. I barely recognize myself in the mirror. Kale is waiting in a smaller dining room, not the grand hall I was expecting, but something more intimate. A table set for two near windows that overlook the gardens. He stands when I enter, and something in his expression shifts when he sees me. Sarah. My name on his lips sounds like reverence. Is this okay? I gesture vaguely at the dress, suddenly self-conscious. You're beautiful. The words are simple, honest, and they make my cheeks heat. He pulls out a chair for me, and I sit, and then he's sitting across from me, and servants are bringing food, more food than two people could possibly eat. Eggs and bacon, and fresh bread and fruit and pastries. Start with whatever appeals to you, Kale says, noticing my overwhelmed expression. There's no expectation to finish it all. I reach for bread first. Safe, familiar. But my hand hovers over the butter, and I realize I'm still waiting for permission. Sarah. Kale's voice is gentle. Everything here is yours. You don't need to ask. You don't need permission. Just take what you want. What I want. Such a foreign concept. But I try. I butter the bread, take a bite, let myself taste it without guilt. Kale eats too, but I catch him watching me between bites. Not scrutinizing, just watching. Like he's making sure I'm really here, really eating, really safe. Thank you, I say quietly. For the rooms, the clothes, all of it. You don't need to thank me. I do. I set down my bread, meet his eyes. I don't understand why you're doing this, what you get out of it, but I'm grateful. His jaw tightens slightly. What I get out of it is knowing you're safe. Fed. Warm. That's enough. But no price, Sarah. He leans forward slightly, intensity burning in those silver eyes. I'm not keeping a tally. I'm not waiting for you to owe me something. This isn't transactional. Do you understand? I want to. I want to believe him. But years of learning that nothing is free aren't easy to unlearn. Still, I nod. Because even if I don't fully believe it yet, I want to. Heaven. The days develop a rhythm. Kale doesn't push, doesn't demand. He's just there. He sits with me at meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Never rushed, never distracted. Just present, asking about my day, telling me about his, sharing stories about the palace and the territory and the people who live here. He walks with me in the gardens when the sun is high enough to warm the stone paths, shows me the winter roses that somehow still bloom despite the cold, the fountain that's been here for 300 years, the bench where he used to hide as a child when council meetings ran too long. He never touches me without permission, never stands too close, never makes me feel trapped or owned or obligated. But there are moments when our hands almost brush as we walk, and the air between us seems to hum with electricity. Moments when I catch him looking at me with an expression that makes my breath catch. Moments when someone else, a guard, a servant, another pack member looks at me too long, and I see something dark flicker through Kale's eyes before he schools his expression back to neutral. Possession, maybe, or protection. I'm not sure there's a difference. And slowly, so slowly I almost don't notice it happening, something inside me starts to unclench. I start to sleep through the night without jerking awake at every sound. Start to eat without my stomach twisting with anxiety about when the next meal will come. Start to walk through these halls with my head up instead of my eyes on the floor. Start to believe, just a little, that maybe this is real. Maybe I'm allowed to stay. End quote. The nightmare hits on the 6th night. I'm back in the pack house. Back in the storage room with its cold stone and thin mat, and the smell of mildew that never quite goes away. But this time I can't move. Can't breathe. The walls are closing in and there's no window, no door, no escape, and I'm so hungry it hurts, and no one's coming. No one ever comes. I wake up screaming. Not loud. I learned years ago how to make my fear quiet but raw, desperate. My heart is slamming against my ribs, and I can't catch my breath, and the room is too dark, too similar, too. The door crashes open. Kale is there in seconds, barefoot and half-dressed like he ran from wherever he was, and his eyes are wild as they find me in the darkness. Sarah. Just my name, but hearing it grounds me, reminds me where I am. Not there. Not anymore. He moves toward the bed but stops several feet away, and I realize with a jolt that he's giving me space, not assuming, not taking. Can I? His voice is rough. Can I come closer? I nod because I can't speak yet. He crosses the distance slowly, like I'm something wild that might bolt, and sits on the edge of the bed, close enough to touch, but not touching. Nightmare? He asks quietly. I nod again. Do you want to talk about it? I shake my head. Okay. He's quiet for a moment. Do you want me to stay, or would you prefer to be alone? Stay. The word almost tears out of me, but I manage to push it through my throat. Stay. Please stay. Can I hold you? The question breaks something in me. That he asks. That he waits for permission even now, even when I'm shaking and scared and clearly falling apart. Yes, I whisper. His arms come around me carefully, and I collapse into him like all my strings have been cut. He's warm and solid and real, and he smells like pine and safety, and I bury my face in his chest and just breathe. You're safe, He murmurs into my hair. I promise. You're safe. We sit like that for a long time. Long enough that my heart rate slows. Long enough that the phantom walls stop closing in. Long enough that the fear recedes to something manageable. I wanted to give up once, I hear myself say. The words come out small, ashamed. Last winter. It was so cold and I was so hungry and I wanted it to be over. His arms tighten around me. Not enough to hurt, just enough to hold me together. What stopped you? His voice sounds strained. I don't know. It's the truth. Stubbornness, maybe. Or cowardice. I couldn't decide which. Not cowardice. The words are fierce. Never cowardice. Surviving that takes more strength than most people will ever need. I pull back just enough to see his face. His jaw is clenched so tight I can see the muscle jumping. His eyes are bright, too bright. If you had, he stops, swallows hard. If you had given up, I would have been too late. I wouldn't have found you. And that, his voice actually breaks. That would have destroyed me before I even knew you existed. The rawness in his voice undoes me. I'm here, I say, lifting one hand to his face. My fingers brush his jaw, and he closes his eyes like the touch hurts. I'm here, Kale. I survived. I'm here. His hand comes up to cover mine, pressing my palm more firmly against his face, and when he opens his eyes again, the intensity in them steals my breath. Sarah, he says, and my name sounds like a prayer. Can I kiss you? I should hesitate. Should think this through. Should probably maintain more distance. Until I'm sure. Until I understand what this is. Until I can trust myself not to break if this turns out to be temporary. But I don't want to hesitate anymore. Yes, I breathe. He moves slowly. Gives me every opportunity to change my mind. His hand cups my face, thumb brushing across my cheekbone. And then his lips are on mine, and the entire world narrows to this single point of contact. The kiss is soft, careful, not demanding, or possessive, or claiming. It's a question and a promise all at once. I kiss him back, my hand sliding from his jaw to the back of his neck, fingers threading into his hair, and something in him shifts. The kiss deepens just slightly, still careful, still controlled, but with heat underneath, with want barely restrained. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. I've wanted to do that since the moment I saw you, he admits, his forehead resting against mine. In the great hall? When I was covered in dirt and kneeling on the floor? Especially then. His thumb traces my lower lip. You were so strong, so dignified, so absolutely refusing to break. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Tears prick my eyes again. I felt anything but strong. You were. You are. He pulls back just enough to meet my eyes. And now you never have to be strong alone again. Do you understand? Whatever comes, we face it together. Together. The word settles in my chest like an anchor. Like a promise I'm finally ready to believe. Together, I echo. And when he kisses me again, I let myself fall. The knock on the council room door comes 3 weeks after I arrived. I'm standing near the window, watching snow fall over the mountains, when Helena enters with an expression that immediately sets my instincts on edge. She's not smiling. Her usual warmth has been replaced by something harder, more guarded. My lady, she says quietly, the king requests your presence in the main hall. There are visitors. The way she says visitors makes my stomach drop. Who? I ask, though some part of me already knows. Your former pack. Her eyes are sympathetic. Their alpha has come to speak with His Majesty. The world tilts. Alpha Cain, here. Every instinct screams at me to hide. To make myself small and invisible the way I learned to survive. To disappear into the walls until the danger passes. But I'm not that girl anymore. Am I? Take me to them, I hear myself say, and my voice doesn't shake. That feels like a victory in itself. Helena nods, respect flickering in her expression, and leads me through corridors that feel longer than usual. Each step closer to the main hall makes my heart pound harder, but I keep my spine straight. Keep my chin up. Kale taught me that. These past weeks, watching him move through his world with quiet confidence, never making himself smaller for anyone, he taught me that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just refusing to bow. The doors to the main hall are already open. I can see them before they see me. Alpha Cain stands in the center of the room, flanked by two of his betas, Marcus and another whose name I never learned. They look small here, I realize, diminished. In the pack house, Cain seemed larger than life, all power and authority. Here, surrounded by Kael's guards and the sheer weight of royal presence, he looks like exactly what he is, a small-time alpha playing at importance. Kael is seated on a raised dais, not quite a throne, but close enough to make the power dynamic clear. He's dressed formally, every inch the king, and his expression is carefully neutral. But I can see the tension in his shoulders, the way his fingers grip the arm of his chair just slightly too tight. He's furious. His eyes find me the moment I enter, and something in his expression shifts, softens, just for a heartbeat, before hardening again as he looks back at Cain. "Ah," Cain says, turning to follow Kael's gaze. His lips curl into something that's probably meant to be a smile, but looks more like a sneer. "There she is. Thank you for keeping her safe, Your Majesty. We'll take her off your hands now." My blood turns to ice. Take her off your hands, like I'm a package, a possession, a thing to be transferred between owners. "You'll do nothing of the sort," Kael says, and his voice is dangerously soft, the kind of soft that precedes violence. Cain's smile falters. "With respect, Your Majesty, she belongs to our pack. She's under my authority. You had no right to take her." "I didn't take her." Each word is precise, controlled. "She left. Of her own free will." "An Omega doesn't have free will in these matters." Cain waves a hand dismissively. "They're pack property. Surely you understand." "Property." The word comes out of Kael like a blade. "You just called her property." "Well, yes." Cain looks confused by the reaction. "That's what Omegas are. They serve the pack. She was doing her duty." "Starving was her duty?" Kael's voice drops even lower. "Kneeling on cold stone while you threw scraps at her like she was a dog that was her duty?" The temperature in the room plummets. Cain opens his mouth, closes it, seems to realize he's on dangerous ground. "We fed her. She had shelter. She was adequately cared for according to her station." Her station. Kael stands, and the movement is so fluid, so controlled, that it's more threatening than if he'd lunged. And what station is that, exactly? What makes her less deserving of food and warmth and basic dignity than anyone else in your pack? "She's an Omega," Cain says. "Like that explains everything. They're meant to serve. It's the natural order." "There is nothing natural," Kael interrupts, his voice cutting like steel, "about starving someone who cannot defend themselves. Nothing natural about cruelty disguised as hierarchy. Nothing natural about treating a living being like they're disposable." Cain's face flushes. "Your Majesty, I don't think you understand how pack dynamics work." "I understand perfectly." Kael descends the dais steps slowly, each footfall echoing in the sudden silence. "I understand that you took someone vulnerable and broke her down because it made you feel powerful. I understand that you built your authority on the backs of those who had no choice but to submit. I understand exactly what kind of alpha you are." The words land like blows. Cain actually takes a step back, but then his eyes slide to me, and something ugly twists in his expression. "She's poisoned you against me. Typical Omega manipulation." "She hasn't said a word about you," Kael says coldly. "Not one. Every piece of information I have came from my own observations and the reports of those who witnessed her treatment. She's been far kinder to your reputation than you deserve." Cain's jaw clenches. "Nevertheless, she needs to return. She has obligations, responsibilities. You can't just keep her here." "I'm not keeping her anywhere." Kael stops, turns, and his eyes find mine across the hall. "Sarah, come here, please." It's not a command. It's a request. The difference matters. I move forward on legs that feel steadier than they should. Every eye in the room tracks my movement. But I only see Kael. Only focus on the way he's looking at me, not like I'm property or a problem to be solved, but like I'm a person whose choice actually matters. I stop beside him, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body, and turn to face Cain. The alpha's expression is calculating. "Sarah, it's time to come home. We've been patient, but you've caused enough disruption. Pack comes first, you know that. Pack comes first. How many times have I heard that? How many times have I swallowed my own needs, my own pain, because the pack came first? She belongs with her own kind, Kane continues when I don't respond. With people who understand her. Not here, pretending to be something she's not. What I am, I say quietly, and my voice doesn't shake, is done. Kane blinks. What? I'm done. The words come easier now, gathering strength. Done being treated like I'm less than everyone else. Done being grateful for scraps. Done accepting cruelty as if it's the natural order of things. I take a breath, feel Kale's presence solid and sure beside me. You want to know what I choose? I choose to never go back. I choose to stay here, where I'm treated like I matter, where I'm fed and warm and safe. Where someone actually asks what I want instead of just telling me what I'm supposed to accept. You ungrateful, Kane starts, but Kale moves, and suddenly he's between us, and the threat in his posture is unmistakable. Finish that sentence, Kale says softly, and we will have a very different kind of conversation. Kane's face goes pale. She's made her choice, Kale continues. She's staying. And if you have a problem with that, you're welcome to challenge me for the right to take her back. The room goes dead silent. Challenge a Lycan king. The very suggestion is absurd, suicidal. Kane may be an alpha, but he's nothing compared to Kale's power. They both know it. This isn't over, Kane says, but there's no real threat in it, just the desperate scrambling of someone who knows they've lost. The council will hear about this. Stealing pack members. She's not a pack member anymore, KL interrupts. She's my mate, my chosen queen. And if you or anyone else tries to take her from me, I will burn your territory to ash and salt the earth behind me. Do you understand? The absolute certainty in his voice makes me shiver. Kane understands. I see it in the way he pales, in the way his betas shift nervously behind him. This is war. Kane tries one last time. You're starting a war over an Omega. No. Kale's smile is terrifying. You started a war when you mistreated her. I'm simply finishing it. Now get out of my palace before I decide that letting you leave is too generous. Kane looks at me one more time, and I see the moment he realizes he has no power here. No leverage. No claim that will stand against a Lycan king's declaration. He turns and leaves, his betas scrambling after him, and the doors close behind them with a finality that echoes through the hall. And then KL is turning to me, and the carefully controlled fury in his expression cracks, replaced by something else entirely. Relief, concern. And underneath it all, something fierce and possessive that makes my breath catch. Are you all right? He asks, his hands coming up to frame my face. I nod, not trusting my voice yet. You were magnificent, he says, and there's pride in his tone. The way you stood up to him, Sarah, you were perfect. I was terrified, I admit. You didn't show it, not for a second. His thumbs brush across my cheekbones. You chose. In front of everyone, you chose. I chose you, I whisper. Something ignites in his eyes. Say it again. I chose you, KL. I choose you. He pulls me into him, and his mouth crashes onto mine with a hunger that hasn't been there before. This isn't the careful, gentle kiss from the bedroom. This is possession and relief, and claiming all tangled together, and I kiss him back just as fiercely because I need him to know. I need him to understand that this isn't gratitude or obligation or fear of going back. This is choice, real choice. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard, and there are still people in the room, guards and advisors and witnesses, but I don't care. Say it, he demands, his voice rough. Say you're mine. I'm yours. I breathe, and meaning it sends electricity through my veins. His arms tighten around me, and he buries his face in my hair, and I feel him shudder. And I am yours, Sarah, he says against my ear. For as long as you'll have me, for as long as I breathe, I am completely and utterly yours. The bond between us flares bright and certain, and I finally understand what the poets mean when they talk about coming home. It's not a place. It's a person. And I've found mine. The full moon rises 3 months later. I stand in front of a mirror in rooms that have become mine, truly mine. Not just borrowed space I'm afraid to inhabit fully. The dress I'm wearing is simple compared to what Helena initially suggested. No heavy brocade or jewels that would weigh me down. Just soft white silk that flows like water, with sleeves that leave my arms bare, and a neckline that sits at my collarbones. I look like myself, just a better version. A version that's been fed and rested and loved until she remembered how to stand straight. "You're beautiful," Helena says from behind me, adjusting the silver circlet that sits in my hair. "He won't be able to breathe when he sees you." I smile at that. At the idea that I could affect him the way he affects me, the way my heart still races when he enters a room, the way my skin still hums when he touches me, even after months of his constant, steady presence. "Are you nervous?" she asks. Terrified, I admit, but not of him, never of him. Of what, then? I consider the question. Of waking up. Of this all being a dream I've convinced myself is real. Helena's reflection meets mine in the mirror, and her expression is knowing. "It's real, my lady, all of it. The way he looks at you, that's not something that can be faked. That's not something that fades." I want to believe her. Most days, I do believe her. But there's still a small part of me, buried deep, that expects the other shoe to drop. That waits for the moment when Kale realizes he made a mistake, that I'm not worth the trouble, that surely there are better choices for a queen than a broken Omega who still flinches at raised voices. But then I remember the way he held me through nightmares, the way he asks before touching, the way he spent 3 months proving, over and over, that his words weren't empty promises, the way he looks at me like I hung the moon. "It's time," Helena says gently. I take a breath, nod, let her lead me from the rooms and through corridors lit with hundreds of candles. The palace has been transformed for tonight, winter flowers woven into garlands, silver ribbons streaming from sconces, the smell of pine and cinnamon thick in the air. The bonding ceremony is being held outside, under the full moon, in the gardens where KL first showed me the winter roses, where we've walked together so many times, talking about everything and nothing, learning each other slowly. The doors open, and I step out into moonlight. The gathered crowd pack members, nobility, guards, everyone who matters in this territory and beyond turns to look at me. I should feel exposed, vulnerable, like that girl kneeling in the great hall while strangers stared. But I don't. Because Kale is standing at the end of the path, under an arch woven with evergreen branches, and the moment our eyes meet, everyone else disappears. He's wearing formal clothes, dark leather and silver accents that catch the moonlight, but it's his expression that undoes me. Wonder, reverence, love so open and honest it takes my breath away. I move toward him, and each step feels significant, final, like I'm walking away from the girl I was and toward the woman I'm becoming. When I reach him, he extends his hand, and I take it without hesitation. "Hi," he says softly, and there's something boyish in his smile. Nervous, even. "Hi," I whisper back. The elder who will perform the ceremony steps forward, but I barely hear the opening words. All I can focus on is Kale's hand in mine, warm and steady, and the way he's looking at me like I'm the only real thing in the world. The vows come. Traditional words about loyalty and strength and partnership. We repeat them, and they matter, but they're not what I'll remember about tonight. What I'll remember is when the elder asks if we have personal vows to share. Kale turns to face me fully, both hands holding mine now, and takes a breath. "Sarah," he begins, and my name has never sounded more sacred. "I vow to see you. Not just look at you, but see you all the parts you've learned to hide, all the strength you don't realize you have, all the beauty you still can't quite believe in. I vow to feed you when you forget to feed yourself, because I know you still do that. Still put everyone else first, still think your needs matter less." His voice roughens. "They don't. You matter. You matter more than anything. And I vow to spend every day proving that to you, until you believe it in your bones." Tears track down my cheeks. I don't bother wiping them away. "I vow to protect you," he continues, "but never to cage you, to stand beside you, not in front of you, unless you ask me to give you space when you need it, and hold you when you don't. To be worthy of the trust you've placed in me, trust I know didn't come easily, Trust that cost you something to give. His thumbs brush across my knuckles. And I vow to love you. Fiercely, completely, without reservation or conditions. For as long as stars shine, and longer than that. You are my mate, my queen, my home, and I am yours. The words settle over me like a benediction, and I realize I'm shaking. Not from fear, from the weight of being seen this completely, of being loved this thoroughly. Sarah, the elder prompts gently, your vows? I take a breath. I didn't write anything down, didn't prepare elaborate words, but standing here, looking at Kale, I know exactly what I need to say. I vow to let myself be loved. I begin, and my voice is steadier than I expected. That's harder than it sounds, harder than I thought it would be. I've spent so long believing I wasn't worth loving that accepting it feels like learning a new language. But I'm trying. Every day, I'm trying. Kale's eyes shine suspiciously bright. I vow to trust you, I continue. To trust that when you say I'm safe, I am. That when you say I matter, I do. That when you promise forever, you mean it. I vow to stop waiting for you to realize you made a mistake, because you didn't. We didn't. This, I gesture between us, this is right. I feel it in my bones. His grip on my hands tightens. I vow to stand beside you. To be your partner, not your burden. To support you when you need it, and challenge you when you need that more. To build something with you that's bigger than either of us alone. I pause, gathering courage for the last part. And I vow to love you, with everything I am and everything I'm still learning to be. You gave me back my life, Kale. Let me spend it loving you. The silence that follows is sacred, heavy with meaning. And then the elder is speaking again, something about bonds and moons and fate. But all I hear is Kale's sharp intake of breath before he pulls me close and kisses me like it's the first time and the 1,000th time all at once. The crowd erupts in cheers, but they're distant. Background noise to the way my heart syncs with his, the way the mate bond flares bright and certain between us, no longer questioned or doubted but accepted. Celebrated. When we finally break apart, Kale rests his forehead against mine. My queen, he murmurs. My king, I whisper back. And under the full moon, surrounded by people who now call me their queen, I finally let myself believe it's real. Endo. The punishment comes swift and absolute. Alpha Cain's territory is stripped, not destroyed. Kale isn't needlessly cruel but reorganized. New leadership installed, new rules implemented, and every Omega in that pack is given a choice. Stay under the new structure, or relocate to territories where they'll be treated with dignity. Most choose to leave. I don't attend the proceedings, don't need to see Cain's face, as he loses everything he built on the backs of people he considered disposable. KL offers to take me, says I've earned the right to watch justice served. But I don't need it. Revenge would taste like ash in my mouth. What I feel instead is peace, the quiet satisfaction of knowing it's over. That no one else will kneel on cold stone in that hall, waiting for scraps that may never come. That's enough. What I focus on instead is building something new. The first law I propose as queen is simple. No pack under Kael's jurisdiction can withhold food as punishment, ever, for anyone. It passes unanimously, and I cry when the council votes. The second law takes longer to draft, but it's more important. Protections for Omegas. Real protections, written into law, with consequences for those who violate them. The right to food, shelter, safety, the right to refuse, the right to leave. Basic dignity, codified. Kale works beside me through every draft, every revision, every late night spent arguing over wording and implementation. He never dismisses my concerns, never suggests I'm overreacting, never makes me feel like my experience doesn't matter. He listens, learns, changes policies based on what I tell him. Partnership, I realize, looks like this. Not grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but the quiet, steady work of building something better together. And will. 6 months after the bonding ceremony, I'm curled in front of the fire in our private chambers, not mine anymore, ours, a distinction that still makes me smile reading reports from the newly reorganized territories. Kale enters carrying a plate of fruit and cheese, and I look up with a raised eyebrow. "You already fed me dinner," I point out. "2 hours ago." He settles beside me, close enough that I can feel his warmth. "And you've been working since then, which means you haven't eaten since then." "I'm not hungry." "Sarah," his tone is patient but firm, "you're always not hungry. Your body still doesn't trust that food will be there tomorrow, but it will be, so eat." He holds out a piece of apple, and I take it with a huff that's mostly for show. "You're bossy," I mutter around the bite. "You're stubborn," but he's smiling. "It's one of my favorite things about you." I eat the apple, and then a piece of cheese, and then another piece of fruit, because he's watching me with that expression that says he won't relax until he's sure I've eaten enough. "Better?" I ask. "Better." He sets the plate aside and pulls me against his chest, and I let myself melt into him, because this casual intimacy, this comfort in being held, is still something I'm learning to accept. "I got a letter today," I say, tracing patterns on his arm, "from one of the Omegas who left Kane's territory. She's in the Eastern Pack now. She says she's learning to read." Kale's arms tighten around me. "That's wonderful." "She thanked me." My voice goes thick. "For the laws, for giving her a choice. She said she never thought she'd have a life beyond survival." "You gave her that," Kale murmurs into my hair. "You're changing things, Sarah. Really changing them." I think about that. About the girl I was 6 months ago, kneeling in a hall pretending hunger didn't hurt. About how far I've come, how far we've come. "I was given leftovers once," I say quietly. Not to him, exactly. More to the universe. To the girl I used to be who needs to hear this. Scraps and bones and the promise that wanting more was ungrateful. I learned to make myself small, to take what I was given and be grateful it wasn't nothing. Kale goes very still, listening. "But now," I continue, and I'm smiling even though there are tears in my eyes. "Now I am fed first. By the man who saw my worth when I could not, who looked at me kneeling in the dirt and saw a queen, who taught me that I was never asking for too much the world, was just offering too little." I turn in his arms to face him, and his expression is everything I need to see. Love, pride, the absolute certainty that I am exactly where I belong. "Thank you," I whisper, "for seeing me." "Thank you," he counters, "for letting me." And there, in front of the fire, in rooms that are ours, in a life we built together from the broken pieces of who I used to be, I am fed. I am warm. I am loved. And I am finally home. Thank you for listening to another emotional, magical shifter romance here on Tina Romance Library. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, so you never miss more powerful, heart-gripping romance stories.